Welcome, everybody. The college football season is approaching, which means it's time to get into some preseason content. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to take a look at some of the Darkhorse contenders for the college football playoff. All right, as mentioned, we're going to take a look at some Darkhorse contenders for the college football playoff this year. Some ground rules for this. The championship odds to win the championship must be 25-1 or worse. So this has kind of panned out in terms of dark horse teams making college football playoff the last several years. We saw Cincinnati kind of go from the same list that I did a couple years ago to the college football playoff. Took some help, it always does when you're in these positions, unless you just go undefeated in a power conference, which Cincinnati is now in. But some of these teams in here, maybe not the most likely to make the college football playoff. We're not looking for that. We're looking for teams who are a little bit under the radar and fit these odds. So let's get it started with Utah, 50-1 odds. They've been near the college football playoff the last couple of years. They made two straight Rose Bowls. Not exactly in the talks for the college football playoff, but right next to it. A couple more things go their way. Maybe they are in the playoff over the last several years. They have 12 total starters back. Cameron Rising back at quarterback. They ranked 11th in scoring last year, and I think the offense has some pretty good potential. Defense ranked 26th last season, and returned some key players like safety Cole Bishop. Last year they had a tougher schedule. They lost on the road to Florida and UCLA. They play both these teams at home this season. The Utes do have a true road game at Baylor in the non-conference, and they play USC and Washington in conference on the road. And they have Oregon at home in another tough game. So the schedule's there. It's brutal. There's a lot of these Pac-12 teams that are maybe in people's preseason predictions anywhere from like 5 to 15. There's a huge heap of them. But there's a chance where if Utah goes throughout the season with only one loss, wins the Pac-12 championship, they can get the job done. This is really dependent on Cameron Rising, I think, coming to, I think, having another good season, I guess is the best way to put it. I think he can be a really solid quarterback this year as he's just gotten better each year with Utah. Next one up, another one of these Pac-12 teams. You see there's another one right after that. Washington Huskies, 40-1. They won 11 games last season. Bring back 14 starters. Michael Penix Jr. is back at quarterback. They scored 39.7 points per game last season. And I think they can put up similar numbers. The defense has some work to do. Washington has some talented players on that side of the ball. Their pass rush is going to be pretty good with Braylon Trice especially. They also have a tough schedule, though, which, again, is probably why the odds are down here. So they play Boise State, Oregon, and Utah at home, and they play on the road at Michigan State and USC. Michigan State maybe not the toughest game, but on the road, cross-country, you just never know what might happen. It's going to take some improvement on the defensive side of the ball, as well as Michael Penix playing at this level again and staying healthy. That has been a big issue for him in his career. So he needs to make sure he can stay on the field, keep this offense moving. And, having Kalen DeBoer as your head coach, he's seemingly done a great job at Fresno. And now Washington, at least in the first season, he's got to keep that rolling. So Washington's going to need to do some big things. What most likely is going to happen, why the odds are so low for some of these Pac-12 teams, is they're going to beat up on each other. It just happens. We'll move on to Oregon now just because they're kind of in the same mold here. They won 10 games last season, returned 12 starters, including Bo Nix. If you saw Bo Nix when he was at Auburn, you're thinking, man, this guy, I don't know if he can really get the job done. He goes to Oregon. He completes a high percentage of his passes. He looks a little bit more accurate, looks more comfortable. The defense needs to be improved, though, too. They rank 74th. They added Kyrie Jackson, the corner from Alabama, in the transfer portal. And it's a tough schedule for Oregon, like mentioned with some of the other teams. They have road games against Texas Tech, Washington, and Utah, and then they face USC at home, which is another big game. So that's going to leave a lot of opportunities to impress the committee. But as we've known, or how we know college football in the last couple of years since the playoff era started almost 10 years ago, this is you can get out of here with one loss and you can make the playoff. That's all you can do. If you're a big conference team, that's all you can do is one loss and then you're kind of done. So that's tough. Maybe you lose to USC, beat the other teams. USC loses a couple games and you get in. That's how it's going to have to be played. There's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching this year by a lot of teams' fans, and all the teams can do is focus on what they have going on the field. Notre Dame, 30-1. They have made the playoff a couple times. Once as a member of the ACC, a couple times as an independent. Last season they started off slowly. They went 9-4 overall, though. They rebounded pretty well after that slow start. They had a new coach in Marcus Freeman coming on. And I think the reason for a little bit more optimism of why they could do it this year is they ranked 97th in passing offense last year. Tyler Buckner gets hurt early. Drew Pine steps in, but just really didn't have the quarterback who could push the ball vertically. And now they go get Sam Hartman, who's one of the most experienced and productive quarterbacks left in college football over the last several seasons. He's seven returning starters on offense, including left tackle Joe Alt, who's one of the best in the country. The defense ranked 38th in scoring, 8 starters back on that side of the ball. Cam Hart, Benjamin Morrison, very good corners. I think having that will really help their defensive chances this year. But the problem for Notre Dame is they have some tough games on their schedule. It might be hard to escape with just one loss. They also don't have that conference championship game because they're back as an independent this year after being in the playoff a couple years ago as a member of the ACC due to COVID. So the road games, NC State and Clemson. At home, they play Ohio State and USC. Just ask for a more brutal schedule. For what this means is you have to get out with only losing one game. Is it Ohio State takes a step back, you still beat Clemson, and then USC beats you? Do you beat USC? Maybe that defense isn't improved for USC, and you're able to hang with them now that you have Sam Hartman. And then you beat NC State and Clemson, and then Ohio State gets you because they're able to figure out their new offense with Kyle McCord at quarterback. That's something you have to figure out here, but you have to get out with just one loss. So again, these are dark horse contenders. Doesn't mean they're going to make it. The odds have to be 25-1 or worse. The next team also plays some similar opponents here. We have Penn State. They won 11 games last season with Sean Clifford at quarterback. 6 starters returned on offense, including Nick Singleton at running back, left tackle Olu Fashanu, again, one of the best players in the entire country. For Penn State to truly compete, though, they need Drew Allard to step up. He played a little bit last year behind Sean Clifford, but he needs to step up and be the guy this year. He was a very highly rated recruit. The defense ranked 10th in the country, brings back 7 starters. They have transferred Chop Robinson from Maryland, who's a good pass rusher. That should really help, too, which is going to give them a chance. The Nittany Lions also have tough games on their schedule, as mentioned. They host West Virginia, Iowa, and Michigan. Again, not all those games are like the toughest of all time, but it just could be some trip-ups here. We're talking about dark horse contenders, and then Michigan at the end of that list. And then they travel to Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan State. What they're going to have to do is beat all the teams they should beat and leave it up to beating one of Ohio State or Michigan. Maybe making the playoff, or maybe making the Big Ten championship as the representative from the East and then beating the representative from the West, or maybe not playing, losing that game and not playing in the Big Ten championship. They still might have a shot. We've seen that happen in the past, too. A lot of it hinges on a young quarterback that we haven't seen, but he has talent around him. I think Allard can probably get the job done when asked to do it. I don't know if he can beat Ohio State, Michigan, but maybe he can beat one of them. That's what you're asking him to do. If you're looking for dark horse contenders, teams 25-1 or more, the opportunity is there if you just win one of those big games and finish the rest of the schedule undefeated. So there's a path to where they can make the playoff. Again, this is not likely, but that's what we're trying to see. Trying to see if there might be any shakeups in college football this year. Let me know if there's any other dark horse contenders who can make the college football playoff this year in the comments below. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.